Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go. So as far as transparency and stuff like that, I think that the Orange County District Attorney's Office does a really great job in giving the public information. I really like how they do their stuff. For one, the videos they put out are all right, but they also, on their site, release the letters and the investigations.
The Orange County District Attorney's Office conducts an independent...
The investigation stuff. So they talk about the autopsy reports and all the other factual information, and it's easy to find. It's not like you have to do like all this in-depth, fucking private investigation shit just to find a little bit sliver of information. They put it all there for you. So they do a phenomenal job with transparency and putting information out there. I'll skip this beginning part of their little intro. It's kind of boring and unnecessary. If you want to read this stuff, you can pause it and read through it. Alright, so that link right there is where you can go to read the reports. And I will read the report for this incident that comes from that link. Alright, so here is some information about the case itself. Let me hit play.
The letters issued by the District Attorney can be found at the following link.
Emergency. Hi, I'm here.
Okay, so before we get into this, I'll talk a little bit about this letter or this synopsis of the investigation that you can read. So it starts off, it gives a little bit of information about the overview of the letter itself, talks about investigative methodology, disclosure of the officer involved shooting video and audio evidence, and then it goes into factual summary. So August 6, 2021. So this occurred August 6, 2021. At approximately 6:25 p.m., Jane Doe, they don't name who the victim is, noticed a dark-colored vehicle tailgating her on northbound 5 freeway as she drove home from her place of work. Investigators later identified the dark-colored vehicle as a dark blue 1998 Toyota Camry registered Matthew Tuan Ahn Tran. Investigators later identified him as the tailgater. Doe did not recognize Tran and had never met him before. Doe made several lane changes so that Tran could pass her. However, each time Doe did this, Tran continued tailgating her. Doe was northbound on the 57 freeway at 6:51 p.m. and Tran continued to follow her vehicle. Doe became so concerned for her safety that she phoned a friend to tell him that someone was tailgating her. She also sent her mother a text about the situation. Doe then exited the freeway at Lambert Road and called her mother for assistance. Doe's mother suggested that Doe not come home and instead call 911 and go to the police station. At approximately 7:03 p.m., Doe dialed 911 and reached La Habra Police Department. Dispatch. Doe informed LHPD dispatch that a young male driving an older black sedan continued to tailgate her even though she made several attempts to get out of his way. LHPD dispatch recommended that Doe go to the LHPD station and park in the front. The LHPD station is located at 150 North Euclid Street, La Habra, California. The station faces a residential area. There is also pedestrian sidewalk in front of the LHPD station. Doe arrived at the LHPD station and parked in front. Doe stayed on the line with LHPD dispatch and remained in her vehicle. So, it amazes me when people are in situations that are potentially dangerous or obviously needing some involvement with the police, and they do not call the police first thing. Instead, they call a family member. They call mom or dad. I don't understand that. I don't know why people do that. I'm sure there's probably some good psychological reasoning behind it. Mom. Like everyone. When there's a problem, mom's going to solve it, right? And maybe that is something that plays into that. You're just programmed, from childhood that mom fixes stuff. Mom makes everything better. And when in adulthood, like that's the first instinct for some people is, I'm being followed. I'm going to call mom. Well, in that instance, that's not very helpful. So, for whatever reason behind it, some people do this, and that's not the right thing to be doing. I'm not saying don't contact anyone at all, as far as family or friends go, but your first call should not be to mom, who may be an hour away, who may be old and frail, who maybe doesn't even have a gun. If mom is unarmed and mom cannot do anything more than what you can do, why are you going to be calling mom? Dad, same things. Even though, he's a male, he may be bigger, maybe stronger, whatever. If dad isn't armed, dad isn't trained in anything, dad's 30 minutes, an hour away, whatever, there's no sense in calling dad. Scenarios like this, the police are going to be the best ones to call. They're going to be uniformed, they're going to be armed, they're going to be trained, they're going to be able to deal with whatever psycho son of a bitch is causing a problem. Alright, so let's play the audio.
I'm getting followed, and I'm going to drive to the police station.
Okay, how far away are you?
I'm like 3 minutes away. I'm on the Habra Boulevard near Wingstop.
Okay, what kind of car is following you?
It's a Toyota, an older Toyota. It's all black.
Do you have a license plate number?
I can't see it. They're like tailgating me.
Okay, was there some type of road rage incident, or what happened?
I don't know. Like, they've been following me since the freeway. I don't know if I cut them off or anything. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've been following me since the freeway.
Okay.
And every turn I do, they follow me.
Okay, have they done anything to you or said anything to you?
No.
And it's an older model black Toyota. Is it a truck or sedan?
It's a sedan. And it's
Male or female driver?
It's a male.
Anybody else in there with him?
No.
All right. Have you approached the Habra Boulevard yet? Well, you hit Cypress before Euclid. I'm sorry.
I'm on Cypress right now.
Okay. And he's still behind you?
Yeah. Okay. I've been making turns, and he's been following me. Every time I switch a lane, he follows me.
Okay, that's fine. But he hasn't said anything or tried to hit your car or anything like that, correct?
No, he's just been tailgating me.
What kind of car are you in?
I'm in a Volkswagen, a blue one, a Passat.
A Passat?
Yeah. I'm never been to the police station. Do I just go to the front on Euclid?
Yeah, just pull right in front of the station. So on Euclid, you'll make a right and then just pull over where you see the doors. Hopefully, he'll just continue on.
Okay.
Are you there? Are you here already?
Yeah. I'm outside.
Okay.
He's still behind me.
Okay. Did he pull over?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Ma'am. Okay. What is he doing?
Oh. He's reversing.
Okay. Is he
and parking.
Reversing and parking?
I have my headlights on.
Okay. Hold on 1 second.
Can anyone come outside? Like, I'm really scared.
I'm calling someone right now. I'll just keep you on the line, okay?
All right, so she pulls up to the police station, and there's no police there to meet her. Let me go back to this letter real quick. Doe stayed in line with dispatch, remained in her vehicle. Tran parked behind Doe and exited his vehicle. He walked up to the front of the police station and attempted to open his doors. The lobby was closed. Tran then pushed the button next to the door and called LHPD dispatch. LHPD dispatch attempted to speak with Tran via the intercom, but Tran did not respond. Tran tried to open the doors a second time. At approximately 7:05 p.m., LHPD Communications dispatched LHPD officers Abigail Fox and Mark Millward to the front of the station. Each officer drove a marked black and white police vehicle, wore department-issued navy blue police uniforms with LHPD patches on each shoulders, had a metal badge pinned above their left shirt pocket, and carried body-worn cameras attached to the front of their uniforms. It was still daylight when approximately 7:08 p.m. officers Fox and Millward arrived in separate vehicles. They parked behind the Toyota. Officer Millward parked behind Officer Fox's vehicle. Dispatch advised the officers that the male who tailgated the reporting party was now at LHPD's front doors. So they arrived at 7:08. It doesn't say exactly when she arrived. It just says that she called at 7:03 p.m. Tran parked behind. Alright, so 7:03 is when she called. 7:05 is when the communications dispatch went out, and 7:08 was when they arrived on scene. So it sounded like to me that she had been there at the station for maybe a few minutes before police got there. So this is something I think it was important to talk about in a scenario like this, being followed by a random person. Not all police stations are going to have police officers in them all the time. Monday through Friday is typically when you could find police officers at a police station. And these are going to be people with rank. They're going to be like the chief of police, or colonels, majors, captains, lieutenants, whatever kind of rank that would be staying at a station, which it changes from, agency to agency. In some places you have lieutenants out on the street. Other places, lieutenants never go on the street. They stay in the building. Ranks are all different across all places. Some places don't have colonels or majors. They call them something else, but they're kind of the equivalent of that or whatever. But whatever rank they are, there are some people who all they do is work a desk and they stay in the station. But they're Monday through Friday people. So they're going to be there during business hours. Late in the afternoon, evening, those people are not going to be there most likely. On weekends and holidays, most likely not at all. So the people who work the streets, they're not at the station. They're out on the street. The only time the people who work the streets go to the station would be for bathroom breaks, which for the most part that's probably going to be mostly always the female officers that would be going back to the station, because obviously they have to take everything off to be able to go one or two. The male officers, they can go take a piss anywhere. If they have to take a dump, some will go back to the station, or if they live within the their area, they may even go home to take a dump. So if they're not there using the bathroom, they may be there for their lunch break. Depends on, what district or beat they're working. Some may not have the time to really go back to the station to do a lunch break. They may take their lunch with them and eat it out in the field. Or they may be there for paperwork. The printer in their car died. They don't have a printer in their car. They're having to do print stuff there at the station. They might be logging in evidence or something like that. They're not going to be in a lobby area and be easily found. Some police stations are designed differently than others. Some will have a lobby area that people can actually walk into, and it kind of keeps them confined there. They can't go anywhere else in that building, but they're in like a little foyer area. And some places may have a call button. They may have a phone type of thing in there so the public can pick it up, and it will go to a dispatch center. And sometimes the station, depending on how big the agency and area is, that station may have a dispatch center in that building, or there is not a dispatch station or room in that building. It's somewhere else. But that phone will still go to someone. So these people who have the idea of I'll just go to the police station, you need to think about that, because you could get to the police station and there's no cops there. I know that's kind of weird to think at first, like, what do you mean a police station doesn't have any fucking police officers there? Well, not all the time. Sometimes, on nights and weekends, they're out working and there's no brass that's inside the building. Same with sheriff's offices and state police posts. They're the same kind of thing. So if you're going to be going to a police station, obviously calling 911 is the best thing to do. Now, when you call 911, it does not mean that police station is the place where the 911 call goes to. You could be talking to a dispatch center that covers multiple agencies, and they're not even in that building, and there is a bit of a time delay between them receiving the call and then getting a unit dispatched. And so you could be talking to the 911, telling them that you're going to the station at such and such place, and no officers have been dispatched yet, which is kind of like what happened here. So the best thing I think to do is to make sure that units have been dispatched, that they're going to be going to that station. And if you get to that station first before the units, keep driving. Start making continuous right-hand turns or left-hand turns, and just keep circling that station until you see officers parked at wherever they're supposed to be at, and then pull in to park with them. Because this suspect could have easily gotten out of his car and then went up there and assaulted her right there in front of the police station, and there's nothing that anyone would have been able to do because there were no cops there. The police station designs are a lot different too when it comes to parking. Some, like this one, was there's parking on the street right in front of it. Some may have like a front parking lot area that you can pull into. Some may have like a back parking lot area that you can pull into. So they're all designed a little bit differently on where you can pull in and park at and stuff like that. And if you've never been to your local police station, or you're out of town somewhere and you had to Google the place and you're going to it and you've never been there, that's something to think about. They may not even have a parking lot for you to pull into. It may just be the street. So that's something to think about. That's something you can ask the dispatcher, if you find yourself in a being followed kind of scenario or whatever. She talked about making, multiple turns, trying to, I guess, ascertain if the person was actually following her or not. So that's a simple thing that you can do. You can make 4 right-hand turns and essentially drive in a circle. And if that car sticks with you after that 4th turn, it's pretty given that they're following you. Sometimes people are just heading in the same direction as you, and that's happened before. I've been driving, and I've noticed the vehicle, makes a couple turns with me. And of course, if I notice that, that gets me going from condition yellow to condition orange. I start paying a lot more attention to that vehicle and start wondering, why the fuck are they following me for? And then I'll start going into evasive driving mode. I will start turning down roads that have nothing to do with my personal life. I don't live near these other roads, don't have any business being on these roads, whatever. I'll start turning down these roads, and I'll start going into multiple turns, basically driving in a circle to see if that vehicle stays with me. It's always turned out to be that, I guess whatever car was behind me just happened to be going the same place I was going initially. And after the first turn or two, they were, still with me or whatever, but after that third or fourth turn, they were gone. So, but there have been times where I thought, oh shit, someone's following me. And like I said, after that fourth turn, if they're still with you, they're probably most likely following you. If you're going home, and you think you're being followed, do not go straight home. Because if that person initially did not know where you lived, they then now know where you live. So actually go the opposite direction. Don't go anywhere near home. Start driving to another part of town. Start going down roads, at least roads you know, because you don't want to find yourself going down a road that you don't know, and then boom, it turns into a dead end, and now you're blocked in. So at least go down some roads that you're familiar with, but do not be driving near your home at all. And of course, this goes into don't ever always take the same route home. If you have a fear that some people could be watching you or following you or something like that, try to take alternate routes to get to home. That's a good practice to follow. If there's something going on in your life where you've been threatened, stuff like that, that's definitely something you want to be doing. Anytime you leave work, take some different route to get to home. Spend 15 extra minutes just fucking driving down roads that have nothing to do with anywhere you're going, just to look to see if there's a vehicle behind you. Now, if someone's good at following you, if it's just one person, they know not to follow directly behind you. Like, that's going to be an obvious giveaway. Some people who are doing it by themselves may be good enough to follow from far enough behind, and as you make a turn, you may lose sight of them, but they will eventually come around that turn, see where you've gone, and continue to follow you. So they can keep a good enough distance to make it appear as though you're not being followed. So it's not like, the classic Hollywood, like, the dude's 2 car lengths behind you and following you kind of shit. Some people know how to follow without being noticed. If you're being followed by more than one person, chances are it's not some random bad person. It's probably the government following you at that point, and they're doing a tactic to keep the chase vehicles rotated so that you can't keep track of who's following you at any given time. But they all know exactly where you are because they're in communication with each other. If you're being followed by the government, then I don't know what you did, but you probably did something that you were not supposed to be doing if they're following you like that. There's ways to shake that, but I won't get into it, because if you're being followed by the government, then I don't want to give you any ideas on how to shake a tail like that. But just for the random, stalkers and shit like that, one person following you, your evasive actions are to make multiple turns at that point. To one, identify the fact that they are following you, and then also in hopes that after you make these multiple turns, if they're far enough away, they may not have detected which way you turned, and then after that point, you can start making a bunch of zigzagging turnings, speeding up, timing it just right with intersection lights so that you go through as it's turning red, and then the person's so far behind you that by the time they get to that light, boom, it's already red, and they can't go through it. That could probably be a whole video on itself. So I'll stop talking at that point, and we'll continue on.
What's going on? Hi. How's it going? Good. What's going on here?
I'm just seeing somebody right now.
Okay, you associated with these cars?
No.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
Well, they'll get you in a sec, okay? Alright. This guy? Hey, chief.
Hey!
No!
Where are you hit?
On the chest, fuck!
Okay, you're okay. Take a deep breath. 1033, suspect is down. I've got an officer down. We need help. Okay, you're okay.
Alright, so let's back this up. So first things first, the body camera. In my opinion, before you ever get out of the car, the camera should be turned on to record mode. Yes, these body cameras do have the buffer mode so that when something suddenly, rapidly happens and you end up having to hit the record after that happens, then it can include up to 30 seconds or more of video footage before you hit the record button. That's nice to have in, exigent circumstances, but you should not be relying on that. They know they're going, okay, so they've been dispatched to this call. This dude's been following this girl. They're going to the front of the station. As they were pulling up to the road, they should have hit the record buttons on the cameras. Or when they start pulling in the park, boom, hit record. That way, before they get out of that car, the camera is already on. It's already recording. They don't have to worry about messing with the camera once they get out of their vehicle and start interacting with people and using their hands for other things. The body cameras help prove what you are saying. The body cameras help capture video and audio evidence that can be used for investigations to help convict people and to help exonerate you if allegations are being made against you that are untrue. None of that can happen if the camera's never fucking recording. And sometimes some people forget to turn the camera on after a critical incident, like this officer here. She did not turn her camera on until after the shooting had occurred, and it had elapsed so long after the shooting that none of the shooting was caught on the pre-event buffer. The pre-event buffer starts with her standing over the officer who's laying on the ground. So she missed capturing all that evidence on her camera. Luckily, they had closed-circuit television camera recording at the station, and we have his body camera footage. But if he was the same, he didn't turn his on when he did, that could have been lost. It's better to have a bunch of useless recordings on the camera than to miss critical stuff. So I think the camera should be turned on every time you get out of the vehicle to go deal with someone. And if you end up capturing hours of useless bullshit, then so be it. It's easy to dock the camera, upload them, wipe the camera, and get back out there. Super simple. Yeah, you might have to spend some extra time tagging the videos for retention or deletion or whatever, but it's better to do that than put yourself in a position where you could lose critical evidence. The fight for your life, the physical fight, is just one part of it. You then have to go through the mental fight and the legal fight. The video helps with the legal fight. It helps speed up that process. It helps exonerate you. So we know from reading this that dispatch told them that the suspect was at the front door trying to get into the station or talking on it or hitting the intercom.
What's going on?
Hi. How's it going?
Good. What's going on here?
I'm just seeing somebody right now.
Okay, are you obsessed with these cars?
No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, they'll get you in a sec, okay? All right.
So he just turns around and leaves, that guy. He takes what he says at face value. The guy tells him, oh, I'm here seeing someone. Or I'm here to see someone. And he says, oh, okay, well, they'll get to you here in a second. And then walks away and goes back over here. But we already know, according to the investigation here, that the dispatch told them that he was at the door. So that, in my opinion, is a failure. He should have never left that guy there the way he was. He should have continued pressing the issue, figuring out what the hell he was there for. The guy said he was there to see someone. Then he should have asked, well, who are you going to see? At that point, if he can't produce a name, then you know he's full of shit. What's the nature of what do you say? Okay, if you can't remember the name, well, what are you here to see him for? They can't come up with a reason why they're there to see him. Then obviously that person needs to be looked into. Your approach needs to change at that point. So I think that was a bit of a failure on this officer's part, just letting that guy stay right there and then walk away from him.
This guy? Hey, Chief.
Hey!
Talk about a scary fucking sight to see, man. Turn around, motherfucker's got a gun pointed at you, and boom, shots fired.
No!
Are you okay? No. So he had got his gun out of the holster, rolls, and then drops the gun.
No!
But then pulls his phone out. So this tells me that he is still physically capable of fighting. You can pull your phone out and start fucking with it. You are capable of fighting. All right, let me go back into the letter here. So we see what happens. Millard's. So at Officer Millard suddenly turned right and saw Tran pointing a firearm directly at him. Simultaneously, Officer Fox saw Tran standing at the station entrance with a handgun pointed at Officer Millard. Officer Fox yelled, "Hey, hey, hey," and Tran fired 2 rounds at Officer Millard. 1 round pierced Officer Millard's bulletproof vest, striking him in the right upper chest, causing him to fall to the ground. Officer Millard would recover from the gunshot. Alright, so 1 round did make it through his vest. But yet he is fucking with his phone. So he is still physically capable of fighting. He has not been physically incapacitated at this point. What is he doing on the phone? I don't know for sure. It looks like he unlocks the phone and then activates one of the apps at the bottom. That could be, making a phone call or doing a text. That's kind of like the default thing at the bottom. He could have another custom setup done. What he's accessing, I don't know for sure.
Where are you hit? Where are you hit?
Oh, the chest, fuck!
Okay, you're okay. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. 1033, suspect is down. I've got an officer down. We need help. Okay, you're okay. We need help.
And we don't get to see any more past this point. So it's possible that he was making a call to a family member or something like that, letting them know he'd been shot. I don't think that's the best mindset to be having. I understand, if you think you're about to die, wanting to call those people and tell them you love them, blah, 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 versus, the last interaction they had with you was maybe the night before or early that morning, and you never got a chance to say it. I kind of get that, but this is a fight. Like, this dude's been shot by a bad guy. Yes, his partner did return fire. He may be able to look over there and see that the guy's laying down, and it does not appear as though he could be in the fight anymore. But you don't know that for sure. Just because the person's laying on the ground doesn't mean they're out of the fight. Hell, he's laying on the fucking ground. He's still able to move around. He's pulling his phone out, unlocking it, activating one of the apps on there. The bad guy, could still be capable of doing stuff. I would have much rather seen this officer retain his gun and get his gun pointed back at the bad guy. And at least, they say in the letter that the bad guy was still holding the gun in his hand, which I'll talk about that here in a second when we get to Abigail's part. But if he could, from his vantage point, see that guy still had a gun in his hand, he should have fucking shot him back. At least keep the gun pointed in the direction. Try to scoot yourself away from that position and get behind cover. This guy completely gave up, in my opinion, on fighting after he got hit and went down to the ground. So he was not physically incapacitated. He was mentally incapacitated. He no longer had the fight in him at this point.
No!
Where are you hit? Where are you hit?
The chest, fuck!
Okay, you're okay. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. 1033, suspect is down. I've got an officer down. We need help. Okay, you're okay.
So he gets his gun out, cocks it, aims, fires. Abigail returns fire. Let's talk about her. All right, so let's go back into the letter here. So Tran fired 2 rounds at Millward. One went through his vest. Officer Fox drew her gun and fired 5 rounds in rapid succession at Tran. 1 round struck Tran in the head and caused him to fall to the ground. Jane Doe, Officer Millward, Officer Fox, and an eyewitness agree that Tran shot first. Surveillance and body camera footage supports their accounts. Officer Fox did not have time to de-escalate the situation or use less lethal force because Tran was already firing at Officer Millward. Officer Fox fired in defense of Officer Millward. Officer Fox also feared for her life as well as Jane Doe and the civilians in the area. Once Tran was on the ground, Fox checked on Officer Millward. Subsequently, at approximately 7:10:32 p.m., Officer Fox radioed that a suspect and an officer were down and that she needed help. Tran's firearm remained in his hand. Officer Fox continued to give Tran commands to drop the gun and show her his hands. At 7:11:21 p.m., additional LHPD officers arrived on scene and provided Officer Millward medical attention. So, I'll also need to scroll down. So I'm on page 4. Let me scroll down to talk about a little bit more of his wounds. So we'll go down to the part where it talks about autopsy. So on August 10th, 2021, forensic pathologist Dr. Nicole J. Ellis of the Orange County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy on the body of Matthew Tran. Dr. Ellis determined that Tran had sustained 3 gunshot wounds. The gunshot wound to Tran's head entered his scalp and caused a subarachnoid hemorrhage and skull fractures. The gunshot wound to Tran's right flank wounded his ribcage, lungs, liver, and other vital organs. The 3rd gunshot wound to Tran's right thigh wounded the skin and soft tissue of his right thigh and fractured the right side of his pubic symphysis. Dr. Ellis also noted that Tran had abrasions on his forehead and ankle. She also determined that his cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds. So, Officer Fox fired 5 rounds, hit the target 3 times. 1 in the leg, 1 in the chest area, and 1 in the head. So, number 1, let's go back in the video here. See him cocking it. Pay attention to him and the timestamp down here. So, 24, 5. So, I mean, she's quick. Not that much time elapses between when we can tell that he aims and fires and then his ass goes down. So good shooting on her, good reaction time on her, getting those 5 rounds off and putting 3 on target. The headshot, shit, I keep dropping my phone. It was also noted that some brain matter had been expelled from his head. But the head wound, so that obviously is the one that stopped the fight right there, right? The round that went into his leg, would that have stopped the fight for him? It could have. It could have caused a mental incapacitation for him. He could have felt that pain and said, fuck this, I don't want no more of this. But she fired in rapid succession, right? So let's say she just fired 1 round and it hit him in the leg. Could that have stopped him? It could have mentally. Physically, no. He would have been still able to fight. If she had only fired 1 round and it went into the right side of his chest area, that went into his lung, liver, and other vital organs, could that have caused incapacitation from a mental standpoint? Again, the pain of it, he could have said, fuck this, I don't want no more of this. Physically, would that have immediately dropped him right then and there? Don't believe so. He may have still been able to physically fight after that point. Just like Officer Millward was physically capable of playing with his phone instead of his gun, despite being shot in the chest. The head wound, so the head wound itself, some people have been shot in the head before, and it did not immediately physically incapacitate them. So I don't know the exact wound track or anything like that, but I'd say it probably went, obviously into parts of the brain that switched him off. But he still could have been shot in the head, and the damage, so to speak, may not have been enough to physically incapacitate him, but at least mentally incapacitate him. There have been people who've been shot in the head and continued fighting. It's just that round did not come in at the right angle or hit anything inside critical enough to cause immediate physical incapacitation. In this scenario, her rapid 5 rounds that she fired, one of them ended up hitting him in the head, and he dropped from that hit, which ended this fight. So, again, the distance involved, which is not that great of a distance, but when you start looking at pistols, it's still a bit of a decent distance. So he's here at this corner. She is over here at the driver's side of the vehicle. So this would be a normal kind of range type of condition, but still, for some people who are not well trained with pistols, this could still be a distance that someone could very easily miss their target. Hell, there's been times where people who've been closer to each other fired rounds at people and they missed. So she's within a reasonable distance of the guy. It's not like it's, shooting from here all the way down to that damn street sign or, this car down there or something like that. But she still fires 5 rounds, and 3 hit him and 2 miss. Where they go, I don't know. We see the glass break, so I'm assuming that as so long as those rounds that entered his body did not exit, I'm assuming that 2 of the rounds, at least one of them probably hit that glass door, and the other one maybe the wall or something like that. Don't really know for sure. And doing it quickly and under stress of someone shooting at you. He may not have been shooting directly at her, but her partner was being shot at, and she's downrange of this guy, so she's essentially also being shot at as well. So she got fight or flight going through her body and everything, and boom, she responds well to the fight. It takes the guy out. Let's see fuckface hit the ground again. Night, fucker. So I said I don't know where one of those rounds went. Looking at this door frame right in here, this circle, I just noticed it when I hit the replay. It looks like a round hits there on that door frame. Night, fucker. So again, like I said, the body camera should have already been turned on at this point. And as I said earlier, the guy still has the gun in his hand, and she had gave the guy some additional commands to drop the gun and show her his hands. Personally, I think that additional rounds should have been fired at the bad guy. They're laying on the ground, giving those commands to drop the gun. They're not responding to it. Go ahead and put 2 more fucking rounds in them. Anything worth shooting once is worth shooting twice. It's like dinner, right? Give them seconds. And if after you fire 2 to 3 rounds into them, or 1 round into them, and you do not see any physical change, like you don't see them fucking throw that gun out of their hand or act in a way that they are perceiving pain or anything like that, then you know that there's a pretty damn good chance they're physically, not just physically incapacitated, but they are fucking unconscious. They are not awake at that point. Which, when you see other videos and tactics of people aiming less lethal weapons at people in scenarios like this and then hitting them with the less lethals to get a response out of them or see if something changes, same thing can be done here with the lethal gun. The dude's got a gun in his hand. He could still be a lethal threat. Just because he's been hit in the head doesn't mean that round went all the way through his head and scrambled his brains like eggs. It could have just bounced off his skull, ricocheted off his skull, and temporarily knocked him out. Or he fell to the ground and is playing possum at this point. Bullets are unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do. People have been shot in the head, and the bullet didn't even go inside. It just fucking ricocheted off the skull, or it did a Bugs Bunny. It went in under the skin, hit the bone of the skull, traveled over top of the skull, the scalp, while under the skin, and then exited out the other side and flew out from under the skin. Like, well, you ever watch, Looney Tunes back in the day, Bugs Bunny, he'd jump in the ground and go underground and dig his little tunnel, and you can see the little mark up above the ground where he's traveling through, like fucking moles in your yard. That's happened to people before. Bullets will hit their head, go through the skin, can't penetrate the skull, travel over top of the skull and under the skin, and then pop out the other side. That could be what's going on here. So 110%, I believe that she still would have been justified in firing additional rounds at this guy because he still has a gun in his hand and is not responding to her commands.
Drop the gun now! Suspect, drop the gun! Suspect, drop the gun or I'll shoot you again! Drop the gun or I will shoot you again!
If you're going to threaten to shoot someone, if they don't do what you say, follow through with it.
Drop the gun! Suspect, drop the gun! The gun's facing into the PD. Anybody standing inside this lobby, be careful. Hey, he's right here. He's got a gun in his hand. He's still moving. Get him out of here.
You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Where you shot at? Where you shot at? Where you shot at? Where you shot at? Where's he shot at? Where's he shot at? Hey, Millward. Where you shot at?
Hey, she's okay. She's okay. She's our caller.
Get him out of here. Where's he shot at? Where's he shot?
In the chest.
Where?
He said in the chest.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
Hey, he's still got the gun. I can't look.
Relax. Hey, get him. Let's get him out. Get him out. Help me drag him out. Hey, you two drag him out. Drag him out. Relax.
In the chest.
You're good. You're good.
Hey, she's okay. She's okay. She's our caller.
Get him out of here. Where's he shot at? Where's he?
All right, so the best thing to do at this point, in my opinion, is to drag him out of the area. So we could consider this the cuff phase of TCCC. He's still in line of sight of the bad guy. He is, and if the bad guy got up and started shooting again, he's able to be shot by the bad guy. He needs to be dragged out of the way and taken to cover, and then have medical aid rendered to him there. So this tactical plan that they talk about being formulated, LHPD officers formulated a tactical plan and gathered necessary equipment to safely approach, disarm, and handcuff Tran. At 7:16:35 p.m., LHPD officers approached Tran with a K9, disarmed him, and moved him away from the station's front doors and out onto the sidewalk where they handcuffed him. At approximately 7:20 p.m., Los Angeles County Fire Department paramedics arrived to provide Tran medical aid. They did not find a pulse or respiration. Gunshot wound to Tran's head expelled brain matter. At approximately 7:26 p.m., paramedics pronounced him deceased at the scene. I wish I would have shown the taking him in the custody part. It sounds like that they used a K9 to disarm him and move him from the station doors. That's kind of how it sounds like. I have seen before a K9 being used to latch onto someone, and then the handler and the dog will drag that fucking person away from where they're at, out into the open where everyone else can see, or at least get them away from the weapon itself. So I don't know if that's what happened, or if they had the K9 go up, bite him, see if there was a response out of it, and then pulled the K9 back, and then they went up there and dragged his ass away from the front steps onto the sidewalk and then cuffed him there. It could have been either way. I wish they would have shown the video for that. Alright, so I'll find a... We'll use this as the pausing screen. Alright, so more from this letter. So it goes into about evidence collected. They collected 5 .40 caliber cartridges, stamped Federal 40 Smith & Wesson, an iPhone, Axon body camera, their guns, his gun, a Glock style 9mm semi-automatic pistol, black green, no serial number with 9mm case cartridge, head stamped GFL 9mm Luger. He had a Magpul PMag pistol magazine with an unknown number of cartridges, and his other cartridges had head stamp of Win 9mm Luger, so he had Winchester rounds. And it talks about the other stuff collected, like the bullet fragment recovered from his skull, his clothing, and other stuff like that. Read the autopsy to you. Evidence analysis. So Officer Abigail Fox's Glock 22 Gen 4 40 Smith & Wesson caliber pistol was test fired at Orange County Crime Lab and fired without malfunction. The weapon was determined to have fired 5 cartridges. The casings 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 from the evidence listed there. Her pistol shared the same class characteristics as the 3 bullets from Matthew Tran's autopsy: back, left shoulder, pelvis, and head. The bullet from number 12 and the bullet jacket fragment from the suspect's head. The fabricated Glock-style Ghost 9mm pistol recovered at the scene was determined to have fired 3 cartridges, and the single cartridge case packaged with the pistol from the scene. The fabricated Glock pistol recovered at scene shares the same class characteristics as the bullet from Officer Mark Millward's vest. So, the bad guy fired 3 rounds and got 1 hit on target. The ghost gun. So I'm surprised they didn't show a picture of the gun and say, "Oh my God, we found a ghost gun." Because California loves talking about fucking ghost guns. What is a ghost gun? I've talked about that in other videos before. I guess I should mention it now as well. So ghost gun is, well, it's kind of hard to explain a ghost gun without a visual reference. But a ghost gun is a gun that you make from basically a build-your-own kit, a DIY kind of kit, do-it-yourself. It comes with all the pieces that you have to put together and also drill holes into the frame to get it to work. So if you went and bought a whole brand new gun today at a gun store, you would have to do paperwork. You'd have to fill out a form, etc., go through the background check, and then you take possession of that gun. With a ghost gun, you don't have to do that, because when you buy that kit, it's not legally considered a gun at that point, because it's all broken apart and it's not even in a condition to where you can put it all together and make it work, because you have to drill some holes into the frame to actually put the pieces in there together to make it work. So if you went to a gun store and you wanted to buy a gun, you had to fill out paperwork, etc. All the pieces of that gun that you buy from the gun store, they obviously all come put together. You don't have to put anything together. It's all put together. But if you were to break that gun down, do a detail stripping, take every piece apart, and then throw it in a bag, that's essentially what you get when you buy a ghost gun kit, minus the fact that the frame doesn't have any holes in it when you buy it as a ghost gun kit. So the ghost gun kit, the frame itself, there's some places on that frame where there should be holes to put pins in. It doesn't have those holes. That allows these companies to sell that thing and it not be considered a gun. It's considered an 80% lower. And that is the only piece of the gun that is considered to be a firearm is the frame itself. The top piece, the slide that holds the barrel and the sights and everything, that's not considered a firearm. You could go to a gun store today and buy 100 slides with barrels in them and never have to fill out any paperwork. But if you buy a frame, there's a working frame, has holes in it, so you can put it together, you have to do paperwork on that because that is considered a firearm. So people get these kits, and the frame in it has no holes drilled into it to put the pins in, but it comes with a jig that you set the frame into, close it, and there's guide holes guiding you where to drill those holes at. And it also comes with the drill bits to put in your drill press to drill into the frame to make those holes. Once you drill that last hole, boom, you now have a firearm. So you start with a piece of plastic that is not legally a firearm, and then you drill holes into it, and now voila, you now have a firearm. Then all you got to do is know how to take all those little pieces that go inside of it, connect them all together, set them inside, put the two halves together, and then boom, you got a working gun. Some criminals are smart enough to do that, others not so much. There's some criminals out there that I think have difficulty chewing bubblegum and walking at the same time. But there's some out there who can figure out how to do that, and there's some out there who buy these kits by large numbers, assemble them, and they essentially become unlicensed gun dealers. They just sell them to other people. So that's what a ghost gun is. They looked at his toxicology stuff. They did a blood draw. They sent it off, and amphetamine and related were presumed positive. Methamphetamine and related was presumed positive. Marijuana presumed positive, and phenethylamine, I can't pronounce the damn thing, was detected. They looked at his criminal history and reviewed it. He had a criminal history that went back to 2018. He had previously been arrested for possession of a controlled substance, but it doesn't specify what. The rest of this letter goes into talking about the standard legal principles in officer-involved shooting cases, talks about some California case law, and I think some Supreme Court case law, talks about the legal analysis, and then goes into the conclusion, which you know what the conclusion is. They deemed that the officer was justified in her use of deadly physical force. So like I said, you can go to their website, look that up, and look up these other cases too, and see all this good information on top of being able to watch the video. That's it. There's not much else to talk about. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.